offender, crazy stender. Good evening, friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new, welcome to my face. Basically, this video is going to be about Top Boy. Obviously, the hit new show that came out on Netflix. It was out before, back in the days. Drake came in, swooped it up, did a thing, couple things there, here and there. Did a couple bits here and there, all of that kind of stuff, fixed it up, got it ready for the streets. Am I right? Am I right? But obviously, we're gonna talk about the newer episodes, but we're also gonna look back at, you know, the originals. So obviously, daily offender, wanted extender. That's not the lyrics.
Daily offender, crazy stender.
Absolute crackhead. I will be. We have features from a dear. Oh, fuck's sake. We have today a feature from my darling over here. But he'll just come in and out because, you know, he hasn't got trim, so I didn't let him come on my channel. So, guys, let's get to it!
Every time I take a draw, that's a mind out. Run it all time, play with since lights out.
First things first, let's talk about what Top Boy is for those that haven't seen it, what it's about and all of that stuff. So if you haven't seen it, that's peak, innit? Because you have to have watched it by now. And if you haven't, that's deep.
Alright, relax, P.
Can't relate. Basically, Top Boy is about ends, is set in ends, and is about, do you know what? Play a drinking game, how many times I say ends, innit? Take a shot. But basically, it's about ends, it's set in ends, about ends, and drug rival gangs in ends trying to sell drugs in ends, and who could be the best drug dealer in ends.
Say, go.
We add it in after, that's how it works. Sicko. So, the main guy, Dechaine, basically... Basically, the main character, Dechaine, he, in the last season, so Top Boy Summer House. So if you're looking for the original Top Boy, type in Top Boy Summer House in Netflix and then you'll be able to find it and watch it and like you'll get a kind of backstory. But I must say, it kind of just jumps, like there's no real connection between the two, so you can watch it without it. But anyway, so Dechaine, the main guy that was like running Summer House, basically, because of issues that happened in the prior season, I believe, he basically goes to Jamaica to kind of like chill off, you know, cool off. He goes to Jamaica. Yeah, he basically goes there for a while to like kind of cool off. But then, basically, I don't actually know why he comes back. Like, it's a little bit techie, but I think what happens is, because he went on the car journey with the cousin,
yeah.
Well, not the cousin, but the guy, the bad guy, because he went on that trip, then the guy went to go shoot that woman's son, and then then Dechaine basically shot him. So if he didn't go on that trip in the first place, yeah, then this wouldn't be an issue.
That guy that Dechaine shot was working for Sugar.
Yeah, which is why Sugar not like this. And obviously...
Sugar.
he basically wouldn't have had to go if he didn't go with the guy to go and do the robbery. Yeah. And the only reason why he went to do the robbery was because the guy from Ends came back and was like, oh, you're out here doing cab driver. That's why. So it's because of his fucking ego, to be honest. If he didn't have a fucking ego, then we wouldn't be in this mess. But that's meant for you, I suppose. So basically, Dechaine is in Jamaica and then gets into like a little altercation, basically killing this boss man guy called Sugar's henchman, and he now owes Sugar. So he's like to Sugar, boom. Obviously, I'll go back to Ends, and give me like bare drugs and I'll go and shot it across all of London, innit? So he's coming with all the big talks. Little does he know, when he arrives back to Ends, Sully is in prison. Why is Sully in prison? Yeah, no one knows. But basically, Sully is in prison, and Sully has a little altercation with another guy who was initially running London Fields, but now in prison as well with Sully, and they get into an altercation, Sully throwing water in his eye. It's basically like a setup, but he comes back to Ends and Dechaine comes back to Ends and realizes that all these youngers are now taking control of London Fields and Summerhouse. And what's his name? Dre? No. What's his name?
Who?
D. It begins with a D. It might not.
Driss.
Driz is now running the youngers to run Summerhouse, basically. And yeah. Like everything's a bit quiet because London Fields gang, the London Fields youngers are like shot in.
ZTs! Zero tolerance out here, cuz.
Thank you. They are basically running things at the moment. So this is where the tension kind of comes, and it kind of escalates and builds. Obviously, Modi, who is played by Dave.
Daily offender. Crazy stender.
Can I just have a separate point that Dave, if you're watching this, nothing. So Dave, aka Modi, comes back and kind of like stirs a little bit, but
I don't care. I'm running them Ends.
but we'll get back to Modi later. Why I really wanted to come here and talk about Top Boy is because it is so beautifully executed. Now, obviously, we have seen kind of hood films come out, like Brotherhood, like the major ones, because we don't count kidulthood and adulthood, because kidulthood and adulthood was a different generation, and I have had this like discussion, but I get it. It was good for its time, but we'll look at Brotherhood as like
Kidulthood still bangs to this day. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, it does, but it banged for its era.
It still bangs to this day
because of the sentimental value that we hold to it.
No, if you look at it again, it still hits on shit as well.
No, it does. Do not get me wrong, but the quality of language, the quality of like film, it's yeah. Although like we have seen this kind of thing, and even Top Boy, when it initially came out, we have seen like the story of Ends and things like that. I have never seen something portrayed so real and like authentically real. It wasn't forced. Nothing was overly dramatic or underly dramatic, or nothing just looked amateur. It all looked authentic and professionally done, and that I must say,
round of applause, guys.
Definitely, because I have not seen anything that has been created that has had that level of professionalism and authenticity when dealing with Ends. Like, you usually have things and they're like talking about they'll be like using language like in it or like yeah, but like in a really weird way. Do you know what I mean? Like yeah, brother. Do you get it? It's weird.
You respect sugar.
But yeah, I think Top Boy really just took the biscuit for me. It also deals with like issues like gentrification. I made a long ass list, but basically like deals with gentrification, deals with issues about disability in Ends. Like Driz has a stroke, and I think that people don't really talk about that. Like obviously this guy is now borderlining 30s, so he is now entering a new stage in his life, and he is becoming a big man. And he has a daughter. He's a dad. You know, he's dealing with dad problems. Like they come back and he's got a dad bod. Driz has a dad bod. Do you get what I mean? Like, it's dealing with like all of these kind of things. And also, like, it actually deals with like a midlife crisis kind of thing. Like, as an older man in Ends, the questions you ask yourself. So Sully gets back from prison and he realizes that the girl, his baby mom, is now married with another man, and his daughter is looking at him like, I don't even know who you are. And like, what that must do to Sully is like, fuck. Do you get? So it's like, it's dealing with like, what do these men do when the roads aren't enough kind of thing. And also like, Dechaine is kind of trying to flirt with Sharon, what's her name?
I don't know, but Little Sims.
Deshaine's character is flirting with Lil Sims. I can't remember her name. I'll find it. But basically, she asks him like, so what are your plans in life? Like, what? No, she's like, what do you want in life? And he's like, oh, I'm trying to get you, baby. And she's all like, no, like, what do you actually want in life? And I think I really related to that because obviously I grew up, I wouldn't say that my life was as drastic as it is played in Top Boy. Like, I wasn't involved in that. My parents didn't allow it. But like, I've seen people like that, and I've often wanted to ask that question, like, okay, so what's next for you? Because obviously you're trying to talk to me as a roadman. What are you going to do for me and my life? Like, I want this in life, and that does not involve you. That wasn't shade, by the way, that's just life. Also deals with like single parents, and that's not just like single females, it also deals with single males. Which again, we look at Driz as an example of this.
Shelly, that's her name.
Shelly! We see Driz as an example of like a single parent father and like the struggle of wanting to do that. But also, whilst also looking at single parents, it also looks at like siblings who have to take on the role as a parent due to whatever reason. We see with Jamie's story, and why I like felt for Jamie, like I saw why he felt he had to do what he had to do and why he had to go on the roads, because he saw like both his parents died, and it was so interesting when that white lady, the dealer, the plug lady, and she was like, oh, you never met your father, and he's all like, yeah, I did. And she's like, oh, your father wasn't with your mother, and it was like, no. And she was all like, your father was with another woman, and he's like, no, like I knew my family, like we were a family, he just died. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, you're seeing him have to take on this parental role, and it burns me and his little brothers, and he's trying to keep his little brothers out of Ends. Like the brother Aaron, I think his name was Aaron, he goes to university, and then we see the
Aaron, you know.
I can't remember. I'm watching too much Attack on Titan. But you see Aaron's going to uni, and he meets a girl who's part of like a kind of like suburban kind of middle class black family, and like they welcome him in, and she's like, the mum's an interior designer and the dad's like a, you know, those kind of things. So like you see that side of like middle class black people. Yeah, so Aaron kind of goes and like meets this girl and falls in love and this kind of thing, and then like she kind of gets mixed up in this, and it's almost kind of reflects like how Jamie tries so hard to keep his two brothers away from the Ends, but still it kind of like intertwines and intermingles in his life. I also like Aaron's story, the brother. I like there's so much to unpick, but anyway, Aaron's story is so interesting because it's looking at somebody who goes to university and Ends, and that too is its own thing in itself. Like again, when you go like coming from, so I used to live in Stonebridge, and when I went to university, and I went to a school that was predominantly all black, and then when I went to university and I was like the only black girl there, I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, it's so different for me, and you don't realize how ingrained your culture and your black British culture is ingrained in you. Like, yeah, I'm from the Caribbean, yeah, I'm from Africa, but deep inside me there's a root in Northwest London, and there's a root in Stonebridge, there's a root First Drive, do you know what I mean? Like, and that will never leave me. And all those experiences that I had growing up, they will never leave me, and I carry them everywhere. So when I go to university and I see people are like looking at me differently and like just like I'm scum, I'm like, do you actually know who I am? Like, do you get? So it's a bit weird. But anyway, I like that idea of like that as well. Then we go on to acts. So we see the story of like immigration and stuff, and like especially in this Brexit climate.
Hint, hint.
Anyways, like in this like Brexit climate, we see like this idea of like immigration and how the boy that, so acts is like in early year 7 maybe, I think. He's very young, and his mum, the immigration office come for his mum, and then he's forced to, he feels as though he's forced to go on the roads and basically just exist on the roads, and like he gets caught up in like Dechaine's plan to get the to get the London Fields boys, because he's best friends with Stefan, and then that's Jamie's little brother, by the way. And then you see like how he's just so innocent in this whole thing. Like he has no want to be there, but he has to be there, and you can see how this now causes, this is how they manipulate young people to enter into this lifestyle, and showing them like, oh, I know it's tough for you, let me come do this for you, and the idea of like brotherhood, friendship, and this warped mentality that they're going to be there to protect you, when actually like we now see that at the very end that Dechaine is willing to give him up to get what he wants, and it's really fucking weird. But yeah, I like the idea of like the immigration. Another interesting topic that is brought up is, and another interesting character is Jax. So Jax is one of the kind of subordinates to Dechaine and Sully, and she basically gets up in the ranks, and she's like a little feisty little fiesta. Yeah, I love her. She's such a brilliant actress. But she is also gay, and I found that very interesting. Somebody like a female who is or a woman who is gay in ends is completely different experience for a man. Usually, I'm not gonna, let me not, it's not my story to tell, but from what I've seen and from what I know, it's usually quite different. And I felt like it was very interesting for them to include it in the show, but keeping it to like realistic, like how realistic it is. So even though she's gay, she's still accepted and respected in ends. Whereas perhaps if she was a boy and he was gay, it may not have the same reception, and that was quite interesting, I found. And I hope they do actually delve into that a bit more and get more stories, and we get more stories of this kind of thing coming out, because it's really interesting. I find that sexuality in ends is a very, very interesting topic. You'll find that like a lot of the mandem, but that's that on that. Another interesting story arc was Jamie's relationship to the drug dealer lady. So she is like a woman, like she's probably like 40. And she's sleeping with Jamie, and Jamie's sleeping with her, obviously. And Jamie's like probably 22, maybe 24 max. And it's quite interesting. No, he's 22, because he said that they died when he was 18, which is 4 years ago, which makes him 22. And the woman's 40. And it's quite interesting, this relationship, because it's almost as if the woman's vulnerability is showing that she's having sex with this 22-year-old, and vice versa. He's lacking this kind of mummy figure in his life, and he's finding his own way of releasing not only his tension, his anger, but also wanting to find love and wanting to find a motherly love. And I found that uncomfortable but also quite interesting storyline needed to be explored, and it was very, very interestingly explored.
They dove into the whole Freud and all that.
Yeah.
Still.
The idea of like an Oedipus and shit.
Yeah.
Like the Oedipus complex. And I thought that, yeah, I really, really enjoyed the way they did that. And also because she's so far from him. Do you know what I mean? Like a blonde. That she's like blonde haired, blue eyed, and he's like, you know, this little ragga chugga boy from Ends. Overall, I really, 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 really enjoyed it, and I felt like the acting was superb, tremendous. Like the young boys, Ats and Stefan, the boys who played them, amazing. Jamie's character, amazing. Obviously, Dechaine and Sully. Sully stole the show for me. Like, to see his character arc and the way he, who plays him? Kano, innit? The way he flowers and like blossoms into something beautiful.
Why the fuck are you angry as I am?
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just...
If it was me,
so
I'll be writing up immediately. No, Sully was too cold.
He was so good. And Dave, I haven't even spoken about Dave's fucking character. Crazy offender, wanted EastEnders.
Let's daily offender,
Crazy offender, daily EastEnder.
We move in it.
Wanted EastEnder, always offending. I loved him. And you know what? I was so upset that they killed off his character because there's so much that could have been done with Modi. And like he's the epitome of, you know, those paranoid, like the paranoid mandem who are like constantly like, yeah, we sing, like those ones that are like bouncing off the walls and that. Like he is literally them. And like I wish they really went into like the idea of like that paranoia and that the mental health behind Mandem. Mandem don't realize how many mental health issues of like anxiety, depression, paranoia, like, and how that develops into like really serious issues like schizophrenia, chronic depression, chronic anxiety. And it's just so interesting. And I feel like Modi's character was like the start of it, but then obviously he dies.
He was just tapped.
There was just, you know, all the actors were brilliant. The direction, cinematography, you know me. I love a good shot. I love a good shot. And there were some really nice shots in there. Every character was their own character. No character seemed the same. Everybody had their own motives. Everybody had their own story to tell. I just loved it. I just loved it. And it also is just a celebration of black people. And I know people were saying that.
You know about that.
I know that people. My drip is talent. I know that people were saying, oh, it's not every day. Look at people like us and say like we are fucking drug dealers all the time. I get it. Like, I understand, but this is somebody's truth. People live this truth every day, and it's done in such a beautiful way. It's not only saying black people are violent or black people are drug dealers or black people are bad people. It's showing there is a serious problem that we have in this country, and the problem is black people are not only living in fucking poverty, living in the bloody breadline, but we're also seeing that people are a product of their circumstances and their environment. And this is what happens to everybody. Every human being is a product of their experiences and their societies and what society builds on them and the pressures that they have. And all this is doing is highlighting a specific demographic, and I'm not just talking about black people, I'm talking about a specific demographic of people in London who are experiencing these issues, highlighting it, bringing it to light, and in such a clever, beautiful, authentic, and just an all-round, and sorry, my camera just stopped. But basically, it's just good. Okay, it just does its job. Yeah.
Yes, queen, speak your truth.
But obviously, I just wanted to let you guys know how I felt about Top Boy, and I thought it was bloody brilliant. 10 out of 10, top recommended. Thank you for watching, but fleeting visit, wanted woman and such.
Oh wow, they be talking like the hella fly. Oh my, always making us some porky pies. All lies, I'm not messing with those other guys.